Traditionally, it's the chair and vice chair of Finance Committee. And so we haven't made that decision yet, but that's traditionally what it's been in the Senate over at least the time I've been here.
Senator, the AARP and I think some others are expressing concerns about some of the nursing home provisions that were added in late, particularly as it relates to the quality of care standards. Why were those put in, and should they be concerned that you're watering down what the governor was trying to do?
We don't think we're trying to water down anything in government standards. I haven't heard AARP's concerns, so I can't comment specifically on them. But the reality is that we think what we're doing is making sure the standards are high and appropriate. What we did was modify some of the way those work out, but I don't think we lowered the standards. And so we'll continue to take a look at those. If we miss something, we'll be able to reconsider. But again, I don't think we lowered standards. Remember, it's all about how they're implemented, and that's the discussion that's going on in this process.
Senator, what do you think you're going to spend the most time on in conference? What's going to take the most time to work out?
I don't think education. I think we've done a lot on education, and that's the discussion in this that I didn't hear from the other side today, and frankly, I was a little surprised. This budget spends billions of dollars more on Medicaid and health care, even without doing Medicaid expansion. And we all know we're working and looking at Medicaid expansion, but this budget spends billions of dollars more on Medicaid and health care. This budget spends billions of dollars more on K-12 education, about $1 billion more actually. And those are significant, and I would imagine that is pretty much where we're going to find a great deal of agreement with our House colleagues. The issues that we're going to continue to work on and spend a lot of time on is probably tax reform. We're going to continue to take a look at tax reform. I would imagine that we're going to have some degree of discussion on Medicaid to see whether or not there's an opportunity for us to do some Medicaid reform as part of the budget process. I think the holistic Medicaid reform package is not going to be part of the budget, but can we put some things in that will allow us to use some of those additional monies that we save by doing Medicaid expansion in other areas? I don't know the answer to that, so that's another area that's going to take some degree of time.
What kind of program would that be looking at? Not the broad program, but do you have specific?
Well, one of the things, remember, a large part of the increase in this budget on the Medicaid side was because of the cost structure in Medicaid and the increases. And so we're taking a look at that and trying to see if we can bend that cost curve down even more as part of the reform package. And if we can do some of that, we can utilize some of those savings as part of the reform process back into the budget process. So we're taking a look at both of those.
Given the discussions the working group's been having, there's 2 or 3 pieces of legislation over on the House side that are probably going to come through. One's been introduced. The Dems each have their own packages. Are we to a point where your expectation is something will be done on Medicaid?
I don't know yet. I honestly don't know. My expectation all along is that we're going to find an opportunity to do Medicaid reform. Now, what that entails, I'm not sure. Whether that's quote-unquote expansion, as some have called it, I'm pretty sure it won't be. But does that allow more people to be covered at less cost? I'm pretty sure that will be. And so, again, it depends on what your definition is. So,
when you say expansion probably won't, does that include expansion via a waiver?
No.
As far as the...
No.
So that won't happen?
Are you asking me a negative or a double negative?
I think I confused myself.
That makes both of us.
Is that likely to be acceptable or something? I mean,
I think Medicaid expansion as proposed by the federal government and originally proposed by the governor is not going to happen. Now, can we do reform by way of I think it's an 1115 waiver. I always forget the numbers. The answer to that is possibly. And that's the area we're going. I don't think you see expansion just as proposed by the governor, and we've said that for a long time. But I do think there's a possibility about doing Medicaid reform that includes an 1115 waiver to provide more coverage to more people at less cost.
Senator, you're a